First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Makakodash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. So today's video, I wanted to go into how eventually a ground attack will happen in Iran. And what we're seeing right now with all this news coming out, I searched up Iran news right now, and it says, this is the New York Times 21 minutes ago, how another U.S. service member is killed as two sides edge toward wider conflict, right? So 2 United States service members have already been put to death over there in Iraq with the latest, drone strikes, and a third one was just announced. And just after the second one, Trump came out saying that he was going to rain holy hell. He's going to rain hell upon the Iranians. And, this is all the escalation and the prophecies that the Lord told us was going to happen. So, there's a lot of distraction happening right now. People are focused on the World Cup and the football and the sports, the fighting, the UFC, the social media. And, there's nothing wrong with these things as long as it's in moderation and you have your eyes single and focus on what's important. Right? Because I watched the UFC fights. I was watching the game earlier. But my mind always goes back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and the prophecies. Right? Searching up what's going on, what's taking place. What's the latest news. Because we're in a time where every single day something new is happening. And, what the elites want, what this government wants, is to keep you completely distracted from that. So you don't rebel and voice your opinion to ultimately bring about change. Which, if you really understand the prophecies, all that is really useless, because the prophecies are going to happen exactly as they've been written. Right? A lot of people try saying, oh, we need a revolt so we can save America, but as the scriptures say, Jeremiah 50 or Jeremiah 51, how we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Right? So there is no healing this place. It's already written to fall. But let's get this in Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, so these things are going to happen exactly as they are written. And that's the thing, is they are going to happen. A lot of people have the belief that my great-grandma's been saying this, and, these things are never going to happen in our lifetimes. But they are, and you're witnessing the beginning stages of it right now. So I have a couple videos here I want to play. I want to start with this one right here.
It's imposed upon us, we'll fight. And the Americans are miscalculating at every level and every time. And they're doing it because the Israelis want them to do it. They're destroying the global economy because the Zionist lobby wants them to do it. But again, I'm repeating myself, but I think this is important because we are in a very decisive moment in contemporary history. If the United States pushes, then they will bring about destruction that will have consequences for your children, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, and everyone who's watching this video. It will change the world because he will bring about an economic collapse worse than the 1930s. And with today's population, global population, and with AI and all the technologies that exist today, chaos under these circumstances and economic collapse would have consequences far, far worse than the 1930s. And we know what the 1930s led to.
Well, Trump himself knows. He said he doesn't want to be Herbert Hoover, which is so bizarre that we are where we are. It's just so... I didn't expect this. The same way when we spoke before this war started, I was surprised when you told me... I remember we spoke during and after the 12-day war, and you said to me after the 12-day war, Mario, the war's not over. I'm like, okay, the professor's fee-mongering. Okay, it's fine. For me, there's no way it's going to continue. And the fact that it happened again, that shook me.
Right, and what he just said right there is so beautiful, because I remember speaking about this, how the way the prophecies and these things are going to happen is going to be to people as a terrible dream. And the things are going to escalate and keep getting worse and worse, where people are going to say, when is this going to ever end? I can't believe this is happening. It's only getting worse. There's no way it doesn't get better. And that's where, it says that the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. Let's get that, which the Egypt here is talking about America, if you go into the prophetic understanding. So let's read that in Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 3. It says, and the spirit of, actually start at verse 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, so eventually people will revolt. Okay, and you're going to have straight civil war and wars everywhere. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. Right, so once things really start collapsing, that spirit of America is going to disappear. That hope, okay, that dream is going to disappear. Because every single time people think it's going to get better, it's only going to get worse. And as he says, it shook him. He can't believe this is happening. But guess what? The elect, the believers that have heard the prophecies, they're not shook, okay? They're actually happy seeing these things happen. Because, as it says, in order for the kingdom of heaven to be established, this kingdom must go down. So, let's get another video now. This is from Mario Nawfal. And going right to his page, his pinned post right now, it says, anyone who thinks a ground invasion of Iran is a serious possibility needs to watch this. Matt Bracken is a former Navy SEAL and Spec Ops veteran, and he's delivered one of the most sobering comparisons I've heard yet. Kharga Island is the size of Iwo Jima, where the U.S. pounded the island with battleships for weeks before landing 70,000 Marines and still lost 7,000 lives and had 19,000 wounded in a single month. Ketchum Island is bigger than Okinawa, which took 3 months and cost 12,000 American lives. Iran has had decades to tunnel these islands, study U.S. tactics, and prepare for precisely this scenario, and unlike Japan in World War II, they have precision missiles that can reach every inch of the Persian Gulf. If we went into Iran, I think we will lose everybody we send in. The more we send in, the more we lose, and the Iranians have been very open about saying, come on in, we welcome you. Matt ended by saying rationality is out the window, and that this started with the February 28th sneak attack, so nothing should be considered off the table. Right, and this guy is essentially saying that, a ground invasion essentially won't happen, how it's too dangerous. And that's the thing is, what do the prophecies say? And this is why, like I said, prophecy is the filter for everything, because we know what's going to happen. It's not a guessing game. We know exactly where this is headed. And it says it in Jeremiah, or Joel chapter 2 and verse 20, it says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the Almost Sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. Right? Who is that northern army? The North American army. Okay? These soldiers are going to go, they're going to be removed, and they're going to go fight in that land that's barren and desolate, aka your Saudi Arabia deserts. Okay, that eastern landscape that is just completely dry, wilderness. So we read it right here about how they are going to send ground troops. So eventually it's going to happen, right? And like I said, this is the beauty of the prophecies, because these guys are speculating and they can't believe it, but we just have proof that it is going to take place. And when you go into, it talks about toward the East Sea and its hindered parts where the Almost Sea. That's going into, if we look at a map, search up a map of Saudi Arabia. It'll be exactly right there. And that's the thing, is that this war is essentially going to, escalate. It's not just going to stay in Iran, it's going to spread. And eventually the Saudi Arabia nations are going to side with Iran to come against the United States. So when it talks about, his face toward the East Sea, that's going, if you look right there, the Persian Gulf, if you're in Saudi, and it says his hinder parts were the Almost Sea, right? So his back parts where the Almost Sea would be the Red Sea. So this is where the War of Armageddon is going to take place, in the Saudi Arabia landmass, that land that is barren and desolate. So we have it. We have it right there. And I want to get another post. So this is right here. It says, we want land invasion. Iran mouthpiece touts new missile boasts decades of war prep. Right? So as they say, they've been preparing. The Americans are planning an invasion. I'm not saying it will necessarily happen. I'm not saying it will necessarily happen in the next few days, but they have plans for an invasion. Marandi, a former advisor to Iran's nuclear negotiation team, said in an interview with political analyst Glenn Dician. Whether they carry them out or not, we'll see. They are going to carry it out. But the Iranians, as you pointed out, the focus of Iranian strikes is on Bahrain and Kuwait, and that's because that's where most American assets have been placed for a ground invasion. And that's one thing that just happened, is when you look at Kuwait and what just took place over there 2 hours ago, it says U.S. attacks Iranian nuclear site, Kuwait desalination plant hit, right? Which if you go into what's a desalination plant, it's essentially the way that Kuwait gets their water, and a lot of those dry areas get their water, is they have plants that convert salt water into fresh water. And without that, they wouldn't have any fresh water at all, because there's none, around them. So this right here, Iran attacking Kuwait's desalination plant, essentially is taking away 90% of their water supply. Right? They probably have more than one plant if you look into it. But if they take them all out, 90% of their water supply would be completely cut out. So, think about that when it comes to economic pressure. And one thing in that video too, he said that if Trump does this is going to lead to a economic collapse. And him talking about the consequences, because we live in a world where technology and AI, everything lines up to what's written, how we're going to enter a time. Now we got to get it. Revelation 13 and verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? What is the beast system talking about? It's going into this America, NATO, and EU system. Okay, that's the beast system. And what is the image of the beast? Right, the image goes into what they're striving for. They're striving for that 2030 UN NWO agenda. Okay, which they are going to be able to accomplish majority of it. So, how do you bring in a new system? You have to collapse the old. And that's exactly what that guy said in that first video, how this is all going to lead to that. So it says that if you don't bow down to the system, you can be put to death, which, that is going to happen to some people, is they're going to be put to death for not complying and ultimately for not taking that chip, as it says in verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So in order for that to take place, first we need the chip, right? We need that system to be in place to bring in this new payment system. And, why are they going to justify bringing in a digital payment system? The reason is because of what we're seeing right now, right? Hackers eventually are going to, come up. If you look into Klaus Schwab a couple of years ago in one of his, worldwide nation meetings, I don't remember if it was the World Economic Forum or I forgot what other one they have, Davos Summit. He was saying that we have to be prepared for a pandemic-style cyber attack, right? So he was saying that how the next one is going to be a cyber attack. And if there is a giant cyber attack, what is the first thing nations are going to do? They're going to up their cyber, security, and that makes perfect sense to bring in a digital system. How the justification is, we have a new digital system, and that it's going to essentially be able to track every single transaction, every person's transaction, and we're going to have more information and more control, and that you're going to have to verify who you are, and that putting this chip inside you is the ultimate verification because no one can fake that. So they're going to slice it in a way where it seems beneficial to the masses when really you're slating for yourself for destruction if you take that chip. Because it says in Revelation 14 that those that take it, right, Revelation 14 and verse 9 it says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." So there is no making it. There is no salvation after you take it. Now you're a complete slave to the system. So that's what's coming, is you won't be able to buy and sell and be partake of society without that chip. So, if you're able, that's why I said that having the prophecies, you can see how the chess pieces are being moved together in order to bring about them. So I'll end it reading this right here. CENTCOM launches 9 consecutive night of strikes on Iran. U.S. Central Command says it has begun a new wave of strikes against Iran, marking the 9th consecutive night of attacks. In a post on X, CENTCOM said that operation started and will continue targeting Iranian military capabilities that it says have been used to attack commercial vessels and civilian mariners traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. So stay on point, stay focused, because these things can really escalate. It can escalate faster than you can think. And that's why, the scriptures say that the Lord is going to come like a thief in the night for many, right? Because they're not watching for these things. So I'll leave it there. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rokakodash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone, Autonomy's Truth. Shalom, Tila, Shalom.